This week in gaming, Xbox feels like it's fully embracing the AAA gaming apocalypse with a massive round of layoffs. A game that's been in early access for over a decade finally hits its 1.0 update, and people seem to really like Assassin's Creed remasters. Well, for the most part. Let's get into this week's news. Xbox is currently obliterating a massive chunk of the game industry. This week, the company announced 3,200 layoffs across their entire business, affecting several studios. 1,600 layoffs have already been enacted, while the remaining will be made into 2028. Some studios have escaped the layoffs and have been released as independent companies like Double Fine and Compulsion Games. Others, such as Ninja Theory and Undead Labs, have been sold to publishers, but the vast majority of affected employees are being let go from studios that will otherwise remain on the books and even tasked with some of their most ambitious projects to date. The Outer Worlds and Avowed developer Obsidian Games was hit with at least 70 layoffs. Avowed 2 has been cancelled, and the studio is now set to develop games in the Fallout IP. Reports about id Software are painting a very grim picture. Some reports claim as much as 73% of the studio was let go, massively affecting their id Tech game engine team. id themselves confirmed that their company has been reduced to the size that it was when it made 2016's Doom, but that they still have the crew that they need to build the game and tech that they're known for. Either way, the future of the studio is unclear. They had plans for multiple projects, including a John Wick-style game that would blend shooting and martial arts, a Western robot survival game like Westworld, a perfect dark title, additional DLC for Doom Dark Ages, and a multiplayer co-op Doom title. Bethesda was also hit with the layoffs, with 22 employees from their Austin office getting the boot. One of those employees was a 27-year veteran who worked on every Elder Scrolls game since Morrowind, as well as the Fallout franchise. ZeniMax, Bethesda's parent company, has done at least 379 layoffs affecting ZeniMax Online and ZeniMax Media, which could have a big impact on the future of Elder Scrolls Online. Not even Xbox's cash cow Call of Duty was safe from the cuts. Reports suggest Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games, which are two of the 11 studios working on the franchise, have been hit with an undisclosed amount of layoffs. It's still unclear how these layoffs are going to affect the current and potentially future titles in total, but they seem borderline reckless, especially considering Xbox CEO Asha Sharma's ambition to hit 1 billion daily users. Xbox is reportedly directing all of its major studios to focus on their tentpole franchises and to produce new games faster. And nothing says increasing production speed like firing 3,200 people. It also doesn't make a ton of sense based on who's getting fired. id Software was on a generational run. Their latest Doom game, Doom Dark Ages, sold in a week what it took Doom Eternal to sell in a month. Obsidian's games like The Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed might have not been mega hits, but their 2020 title Grounded has over 20 million players, and a sequel is currently in early access. The common rationalization for many of these games being supposed disappointments stem from them launching on Xbox Game Pass, but that represents very poor decision making by Xbox. They're penalizing developers for failing to grow the service, as Xbox themselves doubled the price, costing them millions of subscribers. During Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, court filings revealed that they were aiming for 77 million Game Pass subscribers by the end of 2025-2026 fiscal year, with projections hitting 110 million subscribers by 2030. But in October of 2025, they increased the price of Game Pass by 50% and lost millions of subscribers basically overnight. Today, sources at Microsoft say the subscription service currently has 30 million subscribers, which is even less than they had back in 2024. There's also examples of Game Pass eating into profits, with Call of Duty reportedly losing 300 million in sales after it was added to Game Pass. And that's a loss that Xbox was actually willing to admit. It seems like Microsoft is in pure panic mode, as their $69 billion bet on Activision hasn't paid off like they expected. Putting their best titles on Game Pass has cannibalized those sales figures. As much as people might not like Starfield, it hit more than 6 million players a day after launching and had over 15 million players by the end of 2024. It also did 230 million sales on Steam alone in 2023. Most publishers would consider that a massive success. And of course, to make matters worse, Xbox are facing a looming hardware pricing crisis that will make their upcoming console totally unaffordable for average gamers. It's also concerning that Xbox's CEO was recently selected for a position on the Federal Reserve's Productivity and Jobs Task Force focused on the economic impact of AI. That seems like a massive conflict of interest since she'll likely be playing a key role in financial regulations around AI, which her employer, Microsoft, obviously has a massive stake in. Overall, Xbox is in hot water and it's hard to see a way out for them. The company have grossly miscalculated their earnings potential, and now legendary studios who have made and continue to make otherwise successful games are being shut down to pay the bill. When Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, just about everyone was pointing out the dangers of one major company owning so many mega titles and studios. Nonetheless, the deal was approved, and now we are seeing just why this kind of thing shouldn't happen. Let's move on to some uplifting news, shall we? Luckily, we have the indie world of game dev for that. The early access FPS Angels Fall First is finally launching into its 1.0 update tomorrow. The game is basically what a small-scale PlanetSide game might be like. It's been in early access since 2015 and is probably one of the most ambitious indie games to make it out of early access. It features land and space battles with ship-to-ship combat and boarding, tons of content, full bot support, and a ton more. The 1.0 update will include several tutorials to help ease new players into the game, plus smarter and more reactive bots, new weapons for vehicles, performance improvements, and tons of balance changes. This is definitely something I want to check out. Arc Raiders made a big change to its matchmaking this week. Solos, duos, and trios all now have their own independent parameters. So if you like playing more PvE while you're solo, but you like going full-on PvP in trios, which you kind of have to, well, when you go back to solos, it's not going to mess up your algorithm, essentially. You can have your two different personalities for both game modes and play them the way you like. There's also a new expedition and season of trials to play through. Embark also refreshed the game's store with a brand new UI and more in-universe themed art. A petition calling for PlayStation to continue offering game discs has passed 270,000 signatures. The petition is a response to PlayStation recently announcing that they're ending production of physical game discs in January of 2028. This decision has sparked widespread outrage for a variety of reasons and concerns. It seems unlikely the petition will be enough to pressure PlayStation into reversing course, especially since it sounds like the workers at their disc production facility are being moved to AI-related jobs. But mounting pressure across social media combined with the legislative efforts of Stop Killing Games initiative could help maybe move this needle in the right direction, but we'll have to wait and see. Open world animal husbandry and survival game Palworld launched its 1.0 update this week. It includes 2 brand new areas to explore, enhancements to many of the existing areas, rebalanced pals, an increased player level cap, a major rework of the main missions, new side missions and NPCs, 70 new pals, new mechanics, reworked skills, and dozens of pages of changes. The patch notes are so big that they hit Steam's 32,000 character limit on the post. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced launched to rave reviews from critics and diehard fans of the original game, or at least sort of. While reviews of the remake of Assassin's Creed 4 are praising the improved graphics, refined gameplay, and other new features, they're not so happy with the game's extensive microtransactions. Currently, the game has $85 worth of cosmetic DLCs. One of the DLCs is also a map pack add-on that highlights all the collectibles in-game, so you don't have to find them manually. Ubisoft says the standard edition is the full complete experience. Every mission, every island, the full story, and the complete worlds are all there, with nothing held back. The additional packs are entirely optional extras for players who want them, never a requirement to enjoy the complete game. It's not unusual for an Assassin's Creed game to have a ton of DLCs, but you'd think a remake of an existing game would just include everything in the launch price instead of adding a bunch of new content as paid DLC on top of the original experience. Also, Ubisoft laid off 51 people from their Barcelona studio that helped develop the game. Up next, if you want to see what's basically a Minas Tirith type map in Battlefield 6, check out this video showcasing one of the coolest Portal experiences I've ever seen. You don't want to miss it. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.